This is the universe speaking to you. You are now tuned into the Modern Spiritual Life Coaching Podcast by the Certified Master Life Coach and Spiritual Guide, Coach Chip. Welcome, souls. We now begin this episode of a transformational journey. Unedited, unscripted, and creating something from nothingness. Now, let there be light on Modern Spiritual Life Coaching.
It's the morning gratitude on a happy pandemic Monday. Coming up on this episode 135, Essential Spirituality. The Spiritual Attitude Towards Surpressors, written by Felix Adler. Exclusive on the Modern Spiritual Podcast.
Nobody told me to settle down. Day nights and late nights, don't kid around. But there's something about you I like, about you I like. You're crazy for saying I should slow down, but maybe I'm escaping the love we found. There's something about you I like, about you I like. I get too drunk and too scared and lie to you. If only you knew I would die for you. One of us gotta say the obvious. Nobody loves me better. Nobody loves me better. Nobody loves me better. Guess I'm just too scared to settle down. There'd be many nights I got too high and almost left town. But there's something about you I like, about you I like. I get too drunk and too scared and lie to you. If only you knew I would die for you. One of us gotta say the obvious. Nobody loves me better. Nobody loves me better. Too drunk and too scared and lie to you. If only you knew I would die for you. One of us gotta say the obvious. Nobody loves me better, yeah. I get too drunk and too scared and lie to you. If only you knew I would die for you. One of us gotta say the obvious. Nobody loves me better. Nobody loves me better.
Now here's your host, Master Certified Alchemy Coach Chip, on the Modern Spiritual Podcast Live.
It's a happy pandemic Monday on this morning gratitude of the Morning Spiritual Podcast. And welcome aboard for all the new listeners around the world. And we're going to be getting into it this half hour with a special affirmation. And it's going to be about money, I guess, and positivity. And then we'll do a sound healing meditation as well. But first, we're going to continue on with part 3 of the Essentials of Spirituality by Felix Adler. We're going to go back to 1904, that's 116 years ago, with the universal laws of writing. Obviously, we know the universal laws have existed since the beginning of all time, and they have preached it back then that many decades ago and thousands of years ago, and we're going to continue on with the message of the word right here on the Modern Spiritual Podcast. And let's get in this. This one's going to be pretty good, because part 4 is going to be coming up on Friday. So be sure that you have listened to the other episodes as well, because it will all connect together. And this one here is about spirituality and towards your suppressors. Very interesting on this one here, because this is the way a lot of questions have been asked about how do we handle wicked people, and how do we go about it being spiritual? Do we get walked on? Do we just show love, or what? But Felix is going to explain this, how it should be handled within the spirituality realm, right here on the Modern Spiritual Podcast Live.
The Spiritual Attitude Toward Oppressors, Sunday, December 4, 1904. The problem of our spiritual attitude toward positive badness, social and individual wrongdoing, cruelty and oppression, is far more difficult of solution than the problem of our attitude toward worth really existent but concealed. The thorny question, how we are to deal with wicked persons, whether we are to observe the spiritual attitude toward them, and in what that attitude consists, requires the most sincere and straightforward treatment. Should we cultivate an attitude of indifference in such cases? A ruffian cruelly beats his horse, the poor beast that has rendered him faithful service for many a day, but is feeble now and sinks beneath its load. With curses and the sharp persuasion of the lash, the merciless driver seeks to force the animal to efforts of which it is plainly incapable. Can we stand by and witness such a scene in philosophic calm? Shall we say that the wretch is the product of circumstances and cannot be expected to act otherwise than he does? Shall we liken evildoers generally, as at present is customary in certain quarters, to the sick? Shall we say that such men are the outcome of their heredity, their education, their environment? I have known of a husband who, in a state of intoxication, brutally struck and injured his wife while she was holding in her arms a babe not 8 days old. Shall we say that that man was morally sick, that he could not help becoming intoxicated, and therefore was not responsible for the havoc he wrought when the demon of drink had gained possession of him? Shall we say of the syndicate of traders who hunt the natives on the Congo like rabbits, massacre and mutilate them, that they are sick? A bad deed done with intention argues badness in the doer. We impute to the man the act and its consequences. We cannot separate the sin from the sinner, and merely condemn sin in the abstract. There is no such thing as sin in the abstract. Sin is sin only when it is incorporated in the will of a human individual. We condemn the sinner because he has wedded himself to the sin. If this were not the case, we might as well close our courts of justice. We hold men accountable then for their misdeeds, whatever speculative philosophy may urge to the contrary. How could we revere virtue if we did not stigmatize its opposite? How could we believe in human worth if we did not condemn unworth where it appears? But the ordinary judgment stops short right here. It recognizes the particular badness of a particular act and desires that the agent be made to suffer for it. It says this act is the expression of an evil disposition, and it identifies the whole man with the particular act of which he was guilty. The spiritual attitude is characterized by discriminating between the particular act and the whole of the man's nature. It recognizes that there is an evil strand, but it also sees or divines the good that exists along with the evil, even in the most seemingly hopeless cases. It trusts to the good and builds upon it with a view to making it paramount over evil. Upon the basis of this spiritual attitude, what should be our mode of dealing with the bad? There are a number of steps to be taken in order, and much depends on our following the right order. The first step is to arrest the course of evil, to prevent its channel from being deepened, its area from being enlarged. Pluck the whip from the hand of the ruffian who is lashing his beast. Stay the arm that is uplifted to strike the cowardly, murderous blow. Much has been said of the need of considering the good of society, of protecting the community at large from the depredations of the violent and fraudulent, and of subjecting the latter to exemplary punishment in order to deter others from following their example. But the welfare of society and the welfare of the criminal are always identical. Nothing should be done to the worst criminal. Not a hair of his head should be touched merely for the sake of securing the public good, if the thing done be not also for his private good. And on the other hand, nothing can be done to the criminal, which is for his own lasting good, that will not also profoundly react for the good of society, assuring its security and deterring others from a like career of crime. The very first claim which the criminal has upon the services of his fellow men is that they stop him in his headlong course of wickedness. Arrest, whether by the agents of the law or in some other way, is the first step. The most spiritual concern for a degraded and demoralized fellow being does not exclude the sharp intervention implied in arrest, for the spiritual attitude is not mawkish or incompatible with the infliction of pain. This, I think, will be readily granted. But the second step, a step far more important than the arrest of the evildoer in order to arrest the evildoing, is more likely to be contested and misunderstood. The second step consists in fixing the mark of shame upon the offender and publicly humiliating him by means of the solemn sentence of the judge. It may be asked, what human being is fit to exercise this awful office of acting as judge of another? Remember the words of Shakespeare in King Lear. See how yond justice rails upon yond simple thief. Hark in thine ear, change places, and which is the justice, which the thief? Or recall what the Puritan preacher said when he saw from his window a culprit being led to the gallows. There, but for the grace of God, go I. In other words, had I been born as this man was, had I been played upon by the influences to which he was subject, had I been tempted as he was, how dare I say that I should not have fallen as he did? Had it not been for some grace extended to me through no desert of mine, I might be traveling the road on which he travels now. Furthermore, can we say that the sentence of the judge is proportioned to the heinousness of the deed? Is the murderer, who in a fit of uncontrolled passion has taken a human life, it may have been his first and only crime, necessarily more depraved than the thief? Or is the thief in jail, who has indeed broken the law, necessarily more depraved than numbers of others who have dexterously circumvented the law, violating the spirit, though keeping within the letter of it? Is even the abject creature who strikes his wife more abandoned than a man of the type of Grand Court in Daniel Deronda, whose insults are dealt with a marble politeness, and who crushes his wife's sensibilities, not with a vulgar blow, but with the cold and calculating cruelty of a cynic? When it comes to passing moral judgments and fixing blame, and especially to measuring the degree of another's guilt, who of us is good enough? Who of us is pure enough? Who of us is himself free enough from wrong to exercise so terrible an office? Is not Lear right after all? Change places, and which is the justice, which is the thief? It may be said in reply to these objections, first, that the judge does not speak in his private capacity, but that he delivers the judgment of mankind on the doer and the deed, serving as the mouthpiece of the moral law, so far as it is incorporated in the human law. We should select the highest characters available for so exalted a duty, but freedom from even great human infirmity we cannot expect to find. Again, it is not the judge's business to fix the degree of moral guilt. That, not even the best and wisest of men can do. The inscrutable fact of the degree of moral guilt eludes all human insight. Only omniscience could decide who is more guilty relative to opportunities, advantages, circumstances. Who has made the braver effort to escape wrongdoing, whether the admired preacher or the culprit on his way to the gallows, whether the president in the White House or the wretch behind the bars? The office of the judge is to pronounce that crime has been committed, irrespective of the subtle question of the degree of guilt. Murder has been done, property has been stolen, the sin and the sinner wedded together. The office of the judge is to declare the fact of that infelicitous union, and to pronounce the penalty according to the law. And this in particular. The object of the punishment which the law pronounces is not vindictive chastisement of the culprit. The object of punishment is purely reformatory, only it must not be forgotten that there can be no reformation without penitence, and no penitence without self-abasement. And this consists in confessing one's self guilty, admitting that the guilt has become a part of one's being, and humbling one's pride to the ground. The public sentence pronounced by the judge, the shame which he fixes upon the culprit, has then, for its object to pave the way toward reformation, to break down the defenses which the sophistry of wickedness sets up, to compel the man to see himself as others see him, to force him to realize to the full the evil of his present state, not to blast him utterly, not to exclude him forever from the kindly society of men, but to lead him into the way along which, if he travel it, he may eventually return, though perhaps only after many years, to human fellowship. If the verdict is pronounced in any other spirit, it is false and inhuman. The methods to be employed to bring about reformation must often be severe and painful, and one of these methods is shock, sharp and sudden enough to loosen the incrustations of evil habit, and to shake a wicked nature down to its foundations. The purpose of the trial of a criminal in a court of justice, and of the verdict in which the trial culminates, is to supply such a shock, a searching and terrible experience, yet salutary and indispensable in order that better things may ensue. From what has been said, it follows that the death penalty, as a punishment even for the worst crimes, is morally untenable. For either the culprit is really irredeemable, that is to say, he is an irresponsible moral idiot, in which case an asylum for the insane is the proper place for him, or he is not irredeemable, in which case the chance of reformation should not be taken from him by cutting off his life. The death penalty is the last lingering vestige of the lex talionis, of the law which attempts to equalize the penalty with the crime, a conception of justice which in all other respects we have happily outgrown. It does not necessarily follow that the immediate abolition of capital punishment is expedient. It is not expedient, in fact, because of the condition of our prisons and because of the abuses to which the pardoning power of the state is subjected. Because security is lacking that the worst offenders, before ever they can be reclaimed, may not be returned unrepentant into the bosom of society, to prey upon it anew with impunity. But then we must not defend the death penalty as such, but rather deplore and do our utmost to change our political conditions, which make it still unwise to abolish a form of punishment so barbarous and so repugnant to the moral sense. The step which follows the arrest and condemnation of the evildoer is isolation with a view to the formation of new habits. A change of heart is the necessary prerequisite of any permanent change in conduct. But the change of heart, and the resolution to turn over a new leaf to which it gives birth, must be gradually and slowly worked out into a corresponding practice. The old body of sin cannot be stripped off in a moment. The old encumbrance of bad habits cannot be sloughed off like a serpent's coil. The new spirit must incorporate itself slowly in new habits. And to this end, the delinquent must be aided in his efforts by a more or less prolonged absence from the scene of his former temptations. He must be placed in an entirely new and suitable environment, and encouraging pressure must be exerted upon him to acquire new habits of order, diligent application to work, obedience, self-control. It is upon this idea that the moral propriety of imprisonment and of prison discipline is based, whether the actual treatment of prisoners be in accord with it or not. And so we may pass on at once to the last and chief element in the process of the reclamation of the evildoer, namely, forgiveness. An angel's tongue, the wisdom and insight of the loftiest of the sages, would be required to describe all the wealth of meaning contained in the sublime spiritual process which we designate by the word pardon. It is a process which affects equally both parties to the act, the one who forgives and the one who is forgiven. It exalts both, transfigures both, indeed establishes a new tie of wonderful tenderness and sublimity between them. The person who forgives is a benefactor. Is it a little thing when a man is sunk in the slough of poverty, denuded of all the decencies of life, harassed day and night by grinding cares, knows not whither to turn to find shelter and food, for some fellow human being, moved by pure human kindness, or let us rather say, moved by respect for the worth which he sees in his perishing fellow man, to come to the aid of the latter, to lift him out of his distress, to place him on sunlit levels, to put him on his feet and give him a new chance, to open for him a new career in which effort may meet with its reward? Such an act of human helpfulness is not a little thing. The man who does it is rightly esteemed a great benefactor. Or is it a little thing to save the imperiled sick, to bring back from the brink of the grave a precious life already despaired of? This, too, surely is not a little thing, and the good physician who accomplishes such a miracle is rightly esteemed a benefactor to whom lifelong gratitude is due. But there is a yet greater thing, a benefit by the side of which even these, great as they are, appear almost insignificant. To take a man who is sinking in the moral slough and has no courage left to rise out of it, to give him back his lost self-esteem, that jewel without which health and wealth are of little avail, to put him in a position once more to look his fellow men straight in the eye, to place him morally on the sunlit levels, to put him morally on his feet, this assuredly is the supreme benefit, and the man who accomplishes this for another is the supreme benefactor. And a note of exquisite moral beauty is added if the benefactor be the same person whom the guilty man had injured. This is what is meant by forgiveness. This is why forgiveness is so divine a thing. This is the reason why, when an act of genuine forgiveness occurs, the music of the spheres seems to become audible in our nether world. And this is also the reason why we often see such a strange kind of tie springing up between a person who has been chastised and the one who has chastised him in the right spirit and then forgiven him, a tie into which there enters shame for the wrong done, gratitude for the unmerited good received, and a reverence akin to idolatry toward the one upon whose faith in him the sinner rebuilt his faith in himself. There should be some organ of the state to exercise this office of forgiveness toward criminals, this pardoning power in the finer sense of the term. The prison warden, if he be a man of the right stamp, sometimes exercises it. The Society for the Befriending of Released Prisoners has here an appropriate function open to it. Also the employer, who, after due inquiry, has the courage to dismiss suspicion and to give work to the released prisoner. The methods and principles which I have described in the case of the criminal are used for illustration, not that I am interested today in discussing the special problem of the criminal, but because principles can best be exemplified in extreme cases. The same methods, the same maxims, should control punishment in general. Our dealings, for instance, with the misdeeds of which our own children are guilty. Here, too, there should be by no means unvarying gentleness and pleading, but when need arises, the sharp check, that evil may be instantaneously stopped. Here, too, there should be the temporary disgrace, the clear presentation of the magnitude of the fault, if it have magnitude, the humiliation that calls forth penitence and good resolutions. Here, too, there should be sedulous care to work out the better habits, and all these steps should be taken with a view to ultimate reconciliation, forgiveness, and the holier bond between parent and child. But now, can we take one step further? Can we dispose our minds and our hearts in the same fashion toward oppressors? I have in mind, for instance, the hard proprietors of houses who piteously wring the last penny from their tenants, the cruel taskmasters who drive the workers, sometimes only children not yet full grown, 12 and 15 hours a day, the unscrupulous exploiters on a large scale, who raise the price of the people's food, and in their eagerness for fabulous gain, conspire by every corrupt means to crush their less crafty or less shameless competitors. As we hate wrong, must we not hate them? Shall we assail greed and exploitation merely in the abstract? What effect will that have? Which one of the oppressors will not hypocritically assent to such abstract denunciation? If we seek to produce a change, must we not proceed to more specific allegations and point the finger of scorn at the offenders, saying, as the prophet Nathan said to King David, "Thou art the man"? Is it not necessary to arouse the popular anger against the oppressors and to encourage hatred against the hateful? Clearly, the case is not the same as that of the criminal in the dock. He stands there dishonored. The evil he has done has been brought home to him. He is covered with the garment of shame. But those others are invested, despite the evil they have done and are still doing, with every outward symbol of success. they triumph defiantly over the better moral sense of the community. They inhabit, as it were, impregnable citadels. They have harvested unholy gains which no one seems strong enough to take from them, and the influence they wield in consequence of their power to benefit or harm is immense. Is it a wonder, then, that such oppressors are branded as monsters, and that the hoarse note of some of the Hebrew Psalms is sometimes to be heard re-echoing in the cry of the social radicals of our time? Let vengeance be visited upon the wicked. Let the oppressors be destroyed from the face of the earth. But the logical and inevitable conclusion of the thought I have developed today is that we are bound to recognize the indefeasible worth latent even in the cruel exploiter and the merciless expropriator. I have already sufficiently indicated that the spiritual view is consistent with severe and stringent treatment. Checks there should be by the heavy hand of legislation laid upon the arrogant evildoers. They should be stopped if possible in mid-career. The oppressed, also, should oppose those who oppress them. No one is worth his salt who is not willing to defend his rights against those who would trample on them. So far from ruling out conflict, I regard conflict as a weapon of progress, an ethical weapon, if it be waged with the right intentions. Furthermore, when speaking of oppression, I have in mind not merely the cupidity of the few as it operates mercilessly upon the many, but also the banded arrogance of the many as it sometimes displays itself in contempt of the rights of the few. From whichever side oppression proceeds, there should be resistance to it. The check imposed by resistance is one of the means of educating to new habits those who find themselves checked. Individuals and social classes, too, as history proves, learn to respect the rights which they find in practice they cannot traverse. First come the limits set to the aggression, and then the opening of the eyes to perceive the justice of the limitation. But conflict is an ethical weapon only if it is wielded like the knife in the surgeon's hands. The knife wounds and hurts. The method is apparently cruel, but the purpose is benevolent. So should the battle of social reform be animated by concern not only for the oppressed, but also for the oppressor. And such a motive does not exceed the capacity of human nature, but, on the contrary, is the only motive which will permanently satisfy human nature. Certain of the socialists have made it their deliberate policy for years to stir up hatred between the poor and the rich, on the ground that hatred alone can overcome the lethargy of the masses and arouse in them the intensity of feeling necessary for conflict. On the contrary, hatred engenders hatred on the opposite side. Action provokes reaction. As the individual can be uplifted in his life only by accepting the spiritual motive, by trying to act always so as to recognize in others and to make manifest the indefeasible worth of the human soul, so the social classes can be uplifted only by acting on the same spiritual motive. Despite the efforts of 100 years, the real progress that has been achieved in ameliorating the relations between the social classes at the present day is slight, and sometimes one is impelled to doubt whether there has been any progress at all. The egotism of one side is met by the egotism of the other side, but appeals to mass egotism will no more elevate mankind than appeals to individual egotism. Appeals to sympathy also will not permanently help. Only the highest motive of all can furnish the power needed to accomplish the miracle of social transformation. Only that conflict which is waged for the purpose not of striking down the oppressor and rescuing his victim, but for the rescue of both the victim and the oppressor, will attain its end. The oppressor may be regarded as a man who has consented so to degrade himself as to become for the time being a heartless automaton, ruthlessly working for gain, a being like one of those terrible ogres of the popular mythology who feed on human flesh. But he is not a mere automaton or ogre. There is a better side to his nature, as we often discover to our amazement, when we learn about the facts of his private life. These private virtues do not indeed condone his social sins, far from it, but they indicate that there exists a better side. If that side could be made victorious, if conditions could be shaped so as to starve out the worse nature and bring to the fore the better nature in the oppressor, as well as in the oppressed, the problem would be advanced toward a solution. There is a story told of two brothers, sons of the same father, who grew up in the same home and were deeply attached to each other. It happened that the older wandered away and fell into the power of an evil magician who changed him into a ravening wolf. The younger mourned his loss and treasured in his heart the image of the brother as he had been in the days before the wicked spell fell upon him. Impelled by his longing, he at last went out into the world to find his brother, and if possible to redeem him. One day, as he passed through a lonely forest, a hungry wolf set upon him. The horrid, brutal face was near to his, the hot breath breathed upon him, and the fierce eyes flamed into his own. But by the might of his love, the younger brother was able to detect beneath the wolfish disguise the faint outlines of the brother whom he had long ago lost, and by the strength of his gaze, which saw only the brother and refused to see the wolf, he was able to give shape and substance to that faint outline. The outer frame of brutishness gradually melted away, and the human brother was restored to his senses and to his home. This is a parable of the spiritual attitude toward oppressors, toward those who oppress the people in public, as well as toward those who oppress us in our private lives. We must liberate them from the brutal frame in which they are enclosed. We must give them back their human shape.
That's the end of part 3 of the Essentials of Spirituality by Felix Adlers. Gotta get his name right. We'll have part 4 coming up on Friday, which is going to be very interesting. And then we'll have more of these stories coming up here throughout the weeks and throughout the months, because you guys are enjoying it so much. Be sure to give us a like, follow us on Facebook, and also subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And that's it for this episode, until I'll be back on Wednesday with Music Row, with some relaxing and some meditative music. And in the meantime, we're going to do these messages and then come back with a universal matrix affirmation. I said in the beginning we're going to do a money affirmation, but I changed it to a universal matrix, which is alignment with the universe, with your mind and subconscious mind, which is pretty excellent. And if you get a chance to download this episode, when you subscribe to it, you will be able to listen to this over and over again. And repetitiveness will always is the mother of all skill. So in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a couple messages. And make sure you tune into sometime today. Subscribe to the anchor.fm/Coach Chip is the lounge of the path to prosperity. I'll be on there sometime this afternoon with a very special episode, and I'm going to explain more on that on the other side sometime this afternoon. It's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be worthy if you're looking to start a podcast. That's what it's going to be about, how to start your podcast on Anchor, and we're going to teach you through a video course. I'll give you more information on that, so be sure to tune into the other side at anchor.fm/Coach Chip. And in the meantime, I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday. Be safe and take care of yourselves on this CDC guidelines on this COVID-19. Until next time, adios.
Now it's fun and easy to join the Modern Spiritual Podcast mailing list directly from your phone. Just send your email address by text message. Text the word Modern Spiritual to 22828 to get started. Try it now. Send your email address by text message. Text the word Modern Spiritual to 22828 to get started. Message and data rates may apply.
This is Alchemy Coach Chip. I'd like to thank you for being a listener to the Modern Spiritual Podcast. It means a lot to me that you guys are subscribing and you're listening and passing this along to your friends to help keep you on the path to prosperity. Now you can listen to my other channel on the Modern Spiritual Podcast, The Path to Prosperity with the Lounge, with me, your host, Alchemy Coach Chip. I talk about the barriers, the tests, the things that go through from hell to heaven, and that's how you have to get to the other side. It's true experiences from the past to the present. Check it out on anchor.fm/Coach Chip.
My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. Alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow. I am grateful that the magic of synchronicity surrounds me at all times. I stay centered and focused in all that is positive in my life. I open my heart and mind to all that is good. My internal alignment creates a day of synchronicity. I acknowledge that synchronicity is the universe telling me. The synchronicity I am experiencing in my life is a sign that I am in the flow. I am open to the guidance of synchronicity. Divine love brings me everything I need to grow.